Now, Florida is going to be taking on Kentucky. Florida enters this game as a 8.5 point favorite. They are currently ranked 10th in the nation, and Kentucky is 4-0. And there are a lot of Kentucky fans who feels like this team should be ranked. Now, when you look at Kentucky, they survived South Carolina last week 16-10, and that was a very scary game, man. Like, I really thought that South Carolina was going to be able to pull off the upset, because there's been a lot of upsets happening so far during this year's college football season. When you look at Kentucky, I'm kind of disappointed in what I've seen out of their offense so far this year. Okay, week one, they were running it up. It looks like this offense evolved. And this offense kind of still is the same. It's still the run the ball down your throat offense. They still struggle to have success in the passing game. And I really thought that this was going to be the year that Kentucky's offense would evolve to what the majority of college football is doing. I know a lot of Kentucky fans are going to say, well, JT, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I understand that. And yes, Kentucky is 4-0. But if Kentucky is ever going to make that next jump into becoming a legitimate national championship contender, you're going to have to evolutionize your offense. We've seen Georgia have to do it. Georgia has had this smash mouth mentality for a very long time, and eventually Kirby Smart realized that, hey, if we're going to be able to win in this day and age of college football, we're going to have to evolutionize on offense. And when you look at Will Levis, his first game, he lit the world on fire. Everybody was talking about how great he was. And then after that, he kind of has cooled down a little bit. He's thrown for 902 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Now, running back Chris Rodriguez may be the best running back in the SEC so far this season. He's had 85 carries, 513 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, and he's averaging 6 yards per attempt. And Kentucky's defense is really good. This is one of the best defenses, not only in the SEC, but in the nation. And you're playing a Florida team that is a lot better than what a lot of people were expecting heading into this year. Because before the season began, there were a lot of people saying that we know Georgia's going to win the SEC East this year, but who's going to end up finishing up runner-up behind Georgia? A lot of people really felt like Florida was going to get challenged for that crown by Kentucky, by Missouri. And so far, Florida has looked really good. Now, their offense isn't what it was last year. We know what that Florida offense was with Kyle Trask at the helm. You had Kadarius Toney, you had Kyle Pitts. This was pretty much a very beautiful passing attack that Florida orchestrated last year. And this year, complete different. The passing game isn't all that pretty, but this is one of the best rushing attacks in all of college football. And we saw what this rushing attack did to Alabama not too long ago. Alabama didn't have an answer for it. Now, when you look at Kentucky is one of the best teams in the nation when it comes to stopping the run. They are 5th in college football in rushing yards per game allowed. And you can say that Kentucky hasn't really been tested against a team with a legitimate running game up to this point. And Florida, this also is the best team that Kentucky has played up to this point of the season. So I want to see how this Kentucky defense is going to handle this rushing attack of Florida, because it's not just about, the talented running back room that Florida has. They have a lot of talented halfbacks, but you also have to account for Emory Jones' ability to scramble. You also got to account for his ability to run the football and read options or design quarterback runs. And Emory Jones has played very well, in my opinion, over the last 2 weeks. You look at that Alabama game, he played pretty good. I think he had his best game of his career last week against Tennessee, when he finished 21 of 27 for 209 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he also ran for 144 rushing yards. And there was a time, before the Alabama game came up, that I made a video and said, should Florida end up starting Anthony Richardson? Who should start, Emory Jones or Anthony Richardson? And remind you that I love Emory Jones. I want Emory Jones to succeed. And so far, Emory Jones has kind of, right the ship per se, because when they played against FAU and USF at the start of the year, he kind of struggled. He kind of got outplayed by AR-15. But so far, over the last couple of weeks, when we're in the midst of the college football season, we're entering that conference slate. Emory Jones has picked up his performance. Now I know he's still not as great as a passer as Florida fans will like him to be, but he definitely is improving, and he's kind of on a hot streak right now. So this is pretty much the battle of who potentially could finish in second place in the SEC East, by a lot of people. But me personally, looking at this Florida team, I think that Florida is more than capable of being able to compete with Georgia and being able to win against Georgia. But also, don't sleep on Kentucky, because although Kentucky's offense, still hasn't evolved the way I hope that it would, this is still a really good offense. You also got Wan'Dale Robinson at wide receiver. You have a really good offensive line, and you have a pretty good defense. So for Florida, I think that this is going to be a dogfight. When you think about the majority of the couple of meetings that these two teams have had, they have came down to the wire. Outside of 2020, when it was a shellacking, the majority of times when Kentucky and Florida plays, these are games that normally are decided by the last couple of minutes in the fourth quarter. Now for Kentucky, I'm really concerned about this offense. And this is why I'm concerned. When you have an offense that's predicated on ball control and running the football, you can't have 3 turnovers. They had 3 turnovers last week against South Carolina, and they narrowly escaped. If they played a better team that's slightly better than South Carolina, they probably would have lost. They also have one of the worst turnover margins in America, so they don't take care of the football. And the problem with that is, okay, I know you're going to have some miscues, you're going to have some turnovers every once in a while, but if you're going to have a run-heavy offense and you're going to be chewing up a lot of time off the clock, you can't afford to cough up possessions, because if you get the ball with 15 minutes in the second quarter and you have an 8-minute drive and you cough up the football, you basically just wasted the majority of that quarter and came away with nothing. So it's really important that Kentucky holds on to the football in this game, because you don't want to give Florida any extra possessions. Their defense is good enough that they can bail them out if Kentucky does have at least 2 turnovers. But if Kentucky ends up having another sloppy performance like they did last week, they're not only going to lose this game, but they're going to get embarrassed as well, because this is definitely a Florida team that if you give them good field position, they're going to capitalize on it. And when you look at Florida's run defense is really good. 28th in America right now, allowing 110 rushing yards per game and 3.1 yards per attempt. So I want to see what's going to happen, or what could happen, if Kentucky doesn't have success running the football. Will Levis be able to beat Florida throwing the football through the air if he has to? I don't really know. And I know Kentucky does have some playmakers. You do have Wan'Dale Robinson at receiver. You do have some pretty solid receivers on your team. But I don't really know if this offense is capable of being able to get the job done through the air, because this is still an offense that looks predicated towards running the football. So I don't really know. But you look at Kentucky, they are 12th right now in rushing yards per game, having 238.2, and also they're averaging 5.5 yards per carry. So this is definitely one of the best rushing football teams that we have in the country. And you look at how good Florida is when it comes to running the football. This is going to be really interesting to watch, because I want to see what's going to happen if Kentucky can't win throwing the football. Now, when you look at Florida, you could probably say the same thing, but the difference is, I think Emory Jones is a better passer than what we give him credit for. I think the problem with Emory Jones is just that sometimes he doesn't make the best decisions with the football. And over the last couple of weeks, he's played pretty well. I know he didn't have pretty passing numbers against Alabama, but last week against Tennessee, he was really solid. And I know Tennessee isn't Kentucky. Kentucky is a way better defense, but I'm definitely convinced that Emory Jones has turned the corner, even with AR-15, despite if he plays in this game or not, if he's still banged up with that injury. I still feel like Emory Jones is going to be good enough to get Florida this victory over Kentucky. So I'm going to take Florida in this game to beat Kentucky. I'm going to say 27-24 is going to be my final score prediction in this game. The majority of these matchups have been decided by, a pretty small margin. So I think that continues. I don't really think we're going to see a blowout in this game. I think this game, once again, is going to come down to the last ticking minutes in the fourth quarter. I think Florida's going to be able to get the victory because if Kentucky can't run the football, then I don't really think they're going to be that effective throwing the football. And I'm not saying that, Florida has a lights out secondary or anything like that. I'm not saying that Kentucky is not capable of being able to win this game if they have to throw the football. I'm just saying that if one of these teams were to have the worst go wrong, and that's Florida not being able to run the football effectively, I still think that Florida could still win if they have to get into a matchup where they are forced to throw the football. And I know that may rub some Kentucky fans the wrong way and things like that, but that's how I believe. That's how I kind of see this team. And Florida is a really good football team, man. Like, I think a lot of people right now are sleeping on Florida because this team is a lot better. You go back, you look at that Alabama game, a lot of people were shocked. Right now, this Florida team is playing some really good football. And when you look at Kentucky, it looks like they're just scraping by. And there's nothing wrong with, winning. A win is a win. But also at the same time, you look at how Kentucky is winning. I don't think Kentucky's going to be able to win the ways they've been winning the last couple of games against Florida. I'm going to take Florida with the victory.